Good evening. Back again. A little bit more info on this. Okay, where are we? Right, R200 is out. We have an issue where the R200 bolts in. Right, let's see if we can get my torch in my hand properly. Bolts in here. Now, diffs turn their nose up. Right? Exaggeration, turn their nose up. So, this, when it's in the car, like it is, will push up. So there's flex here. With a diff pushing its nose up, it's pushing this up, it's flexing. Now, I didn't think it was totally, but then this only done dyno time and a drive home, and look at that. It's actually flexed. Check this out. It's deformed the subframe. Actually deformed the subframe. Now, the way to fix this would be to take all this out, throw it all in the bin. But here at Grudy's, we're not about that. And I hate disappointing my client. Rob's such a lovely lad. And we're just going to make this work. So what we're going to do, this car's got to be out. I've got other work that's got to come in, that's waiting. And everyone's patient, so I'm very thankful for the people that are watching that are being patient. But what we're going to do is, instead of us doing anything drastic here, what I might do, I will give Mr. Rob a ring tomorrow. I might weld a section of blue box in here. Alright? Now we're going to kind of solid mount this with some 95A. So it's close to Delrin. So it's not really going to go anywhere. Worst case scenario, I could cut some aluminium bushes. Now if we mount this point, and this point, then that stops this moving. It stops it kicking up this way, so the diff will kick up this way, subframe kicks that way, which is why there is deformation here. Now I'd like to know from other people that have got an R200 set up, one of these Brintech setups, if they've had issues with these bolts undoing, because let's face it, it is actually, come on guys, Lawrence, you boys can do better than this. I think you can. Right? There's not a lot there and it's not very thick. You know what? The amount of stress, I'd actually probably use a bit of 8mm there. But I wouldn't have used just generic. Probably would use something a little bit better than like 1020. Maybe even some 4140 plate. Something that had a bit of tensile strength to it, because this is a bit of an issue. You know, look at this. This plate just hangs off. Right? So this will now be, once I've finished this rear end, so you can see the deformation, right, in that plate. That's 5mm. Where's my trusty shitbox ruler? Yeah, we've got about 5mm, 4 or 5mm. Right, so realistically, I actually want to know what it is. Yeah, it looks like 5. So in all reality, where we're at now is, if I could put some bushes there, urethane, and run these urethane here, even if I ran something a little more solid, right, some 95A would be nice. Now, if I could do this, have to be thin on the top here, because I have clearance issues in here. But what happened was the tail shaft, which I'd clearanced all of this, actually rubbed on there under hard acceleration. Now there was enough room. I spaced this down so it had about 6mm. Now, I will tell you, I believe that the diff nose was lifting enough by deforming this. And it deformed it to a point where those mounting bolts were loose. So now we have a conundrum where, yes, that subframe should be mounted at the top to the body. So it will hold still, and then I can have 4 pickup points like what we've got, but this not being a pickup point that will then flex. If it flexes, it should flex up and down with bush distortion, not fore and aft, as we were trying to explain. So, with this here, as the diff nose comes up, it'll want to do that. And then hard decel, it'll do that. So as the diff nose comes up and does that, it will actually lift the tail shaft up. Now, when I nailed this thing on the way home, probably about a 50% throttle nail, I heard it grab on that. Now that was this. This is why you should always try to know what's going on with everything you're doing. So that there, that's a witness mark where it dragged. Did it more than once, did it twice. Then when I did it again, off the lights, I did a drop, grabbed second, and she went bang and popped that TV. So that's why we are here. Don't worry about these. These are just set up springs to get the height right so as we can order what we need. So yeah, late night, looking at what we can do to make this better. I could remake all this and actually make it strong. But no matter what, the amount of torque this thing puts out, it's actually deforming. And it's doing this here, right here. All it is an aluminium bush. And even though I used washers, and I use very powerful washers to space it up, now look at this. So I used a washer that covered that whole area. But it's not an issue because it covered this whole area. But look at this. Deformed the washer, which means it bent its parent material. Right. You need to keep an eye on everything that you do, especially when you're building power. If this was a 600 horsepower turbo car, I think I would have bent that whole subframe. Alright, so yeah, I know, second video for the day, 10 minutes out of your day, thanks guys. Just thought I'd share with you that yes, just because somebody can make it doesn't mean it's right. Just because you believe the R200 is going to save you because you won't break it, doesn't mean you're not going to break everything else around it and spend twice the money. For the $5,000 we're in, I could have built a 4-clutch, 4-pinion, 188mm LSD, 373 gears, 391 gears, very similar. I could have run these hubs that we're running here, and I could have run the smaller e34 shaft. Right, and it all would have been brand new, and I guarantee we wouldn't have broken a shaft, and we wouldn't have broken a diff, and I would have Loctited in the bolts, even run a stud kit, and the diff would have stayed in. We would have ran a factory tail shaft. Yeah. So sometimes trying to save money by spending money on something that isn't suited. Now, if this had 4 mounts, if this had 2 more mounts up here that I could bolt to there on the subframe, this would be a really good setup. But the facts are, it has 2 bolts at the front, which means it allows flex and allows nose up flex, which is what we've experienced. And that's one drive and a dyno session that caused that deformation in that thin 5mm steel plate. Alright? So a way to fix that, so it wouldn't do it, if you ever watch this, Lawrence from Brintech, see that little nut you put on top? Right, make a 4140 threaded washer, the size, 3/4 of the size of this. This is a 50mm. So this is a 50mm. Make a 3/4 washer. This would fix it. Right? Creating this subframe, this would actually fix it. You would make one of these, about 40mm, and you would run your thread through it, and you'd run it 10mm thick. Yes, it's a little heavy, but you would not get any deformation. And it would strengthen what's already here. This thin stuff that they've used. I don't know. Everyone's got different ideas, and this is the key, guys. You will have different ideas than everybody else around you. Other people out there won't agree with me, but what I will do will work, and I will fix this setup. Okay, incoming in the next couple of days will be the repair and the re-engineering of the r200 Brintech rear end. Thanks, guys. Have a lovely night.